diet. Yeah, I don't like diets either. And I don't know if you know this, but diet is a 4-letter word. And the first 3 letters are what?
Hello and welcome back to the Christian Women's Health Collective. We are here for our next podcast. If you did not get to listen to our last podcast on back to school and children eating healthier, please, I encourage you to go back and take a listen. If you are here for the first time, welcome. We are going to be discussing different types of diets today, and we're going to try and fit a lot into this one. And if we can't get everything into it, then we will move on next week into some more in-depth topics. But for now, let's talk about different types of diets, ladies.
Yeah.
What's
Gosh, how many diets are there? There's a ton, right? I think I've got like 30-something, 40-something diets total.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
I've tried so many, all of them probably.
Yeah. Well, I can't say I've tried them all, but I've tried a lot of them.
I've tried a lot. Here's the one thing that gets me though, is when I mention a diet to people, everybody has their own way of doing it. I'm like, well, what's the right way? You know, it's like fasting is an example. I'm like, well, how do you know?
Yep.
I can't consider fasting a diet.
No, then I think that's something that we should talk about.
Absolutely.
Because how many people think of it as being a diet rather than a healthy way of eating?
Well, yeah, intermittent fasting is the newest diet fad if you really want to look at it. But their idea of what intermittent fasting is supposed to look at is a little skewed.
Exactly.
Yeah, yep, I knew a lady who intermittent fasted, and she would take her eating window of 8 hours, and she was a fairly large lady, and she would take her eating window of 8 hours and gorge.
Gosh,
I'm gonna shove it all in this window.
She would
oh my
eat
gosh,
everything under the sun. And granted, she lost weight in the beginning just from the triggering her what's the word I'm looking for, Breanne?
Her metabolism, increasing her metabolism.
Yeah. And so she did lose a little bit of weight in the beginning, but she couldn't sustain it. Yeah. It was hilarious. So I love I don't love them literally. I'm very sarcastic in saying I love the fad diets because they come and go so fast and they're so detrimental.
Well, here's the thing with fad diets or dieting is that it's short term, right? We treat it like a marathon, like we're going to go and we're going to run this marathon for 6 weeks and then we're never going to have to do it again the rest of our lives. And we treat all of that nutrition and health and everything as like a short-term thing. And so I hate the word diet because that just implies like, okay, I'm going to do this for a short amount of time and then I'm going to be good the rest of my life. Like I'm never going to have to run another 5K, right? I'm going to be fit the rest of my life if I just run one. And that's just the wrong way of thinking about eating healthy. It's like, it's not a one-time deal. It's a complete shift in your nutrition, your mindset, your health, and your movement, so it's more like we have to shift the American diet culture to just, hey, let's just try and be healthy and do what's the best for our body in particular, so it's just we can't treat health as a short-term fix. There's no short-term fix for health. It is a journey that we are all going to be on the rest of our lives.
That's right. And the journey may change from time to time too, which I think is a little interesting because I know throughout my journey I will pick up something and then I'll either add to it or change it. In the past life, I would be like, hold on, I've made a goal or I've set this standard, this commitment. I can't change it. But the reality of it, change is growth.
Oh, yeah.
So we want that change. We want to learn new healthy habits because they actually stack a new beginning to more healthy habits, right? But in my mind, oh, you're messing up the plan,
That's the thing. That's why we call our membership flexible fasting, is because you have to be flexible in life. You cannot have rigid standards to stick to and try and stick to that for the rest of your life, because then what happens if you make a mistake? What happens if you fail? What happens if you like get off course for a couple of days or a couple of hours or whatever? And a lot of people are like, throw in the towel. I give up. I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I can't do it because I can't do it perfectly. That's just not how real life works. You're getting so many health benefits from making the right choices, like 80% of the time, right? Like, let's not focus on the 20% of the time where you had a hard time. Like, that's life, and that is okay. Like, you just keep moving forward. The road is not straight. There are lots of dips and bumps in the road to health.
Yeah.
I've learned
diet is.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was going to just say, diet. Yeah, I don't like diets either. And I don't know if you've noticed, but diet is a 4-letter word. And the first 3 letters are what? Die.
So, I love that. That's a great anagram.
Yeah, right. And so diets don't work. They don't work. Why? Because there's an end date.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's always an end date. Well, I need to diet until, the wedding. I need to diet until, so I look good in the pictures with my new grandbaby, or, whatever it is, the graduation, or there's an end date to it. We reach the end date, and then the weight comes back on. Maybe we did, hang tight in there, but yeah, it has to be lifestyle.
And 9 times out of 10, or most of the time, 10 times out of 10, the person puts on more weight than they lost. It almost always happens that way. And a big part of that is because there's the resistance in metabolism. You just keep stretching it. And every single time we gain and lose weight, we become more metabolically unstable. And then the weight goes on so much easier and so much faster, because that's what our cells are designed to do now. I started out as a brain health coach before my business became over Alzheimer's. I still wanted to be a brain health coach because my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And what happened was the people that I was coaching just wanted to lose weight for whatever event was coming up in their life. They just really wanted to lose weight. And I don't want to be a weight loss coach. That doesn't work for me, because my whole purpose was to help people prevent Alzheimer's. And I watched these people lose weight really fast because I was, my focus was keto and carnivore. And keto and carnivore is no different than what was originally known as the Atkins diet, because you cut all carbs essentially, and then you lose weight really fast. And that was really what they were looking to do. Whereas for me, it was about, it wasn't about losing weight really fast. I'm not an advocate for that. Even when I did the fasting with Breanne, I lost 12 pounds, I think, in 5 days. And a lot of it was water weight, but I was like, whoa, that's so fast, slow down. But it really breaks my heart that is still the culture that we live in today, where people just, they want to lose the weight for a circumstance and then go back to eating the way that they always did. And I've watched every single person that I coached before I said no more gain their weight back. So it's just not something I can be an advocate for.
Yeah, lifestyle. You said it, Sheri. It has to be a lifestyle.
But people hate hearing that. I want to find a different way to say it. People hear it's a lifestyle change.
To me, it's how I want to be as a person. So I would say, how do you vision yourself being? Because if you vision yourself walking around like a oily French fry, well, that's who you are. That I could not pick up. People used to say you are who you eat, and I'm like, well, I'm a bowl of cereal. I mean, that's what I was.
I have to tell you, Tyler's sitting in the room and he's busting up laughing right now.
Yeah, that wrinkly raisin. Here I am. But do you know what I am? A product of what I ate, which was cereal, ramen noodles, sandwiches. And now I'm 48 years old, and I'm nothing but a processed girl who had trauma and did not know how to eat. And so the suffering came in. The diets were in between that time. And I was like, y'all, I had a plan. I was going to be healthy. But I got so overwhelmed with who I was listening to, what they were saying, what I was reading. And in fact, what I really learned is I was hurting my body more than anything, because I thought that I was picking up where I needed to be, but really I was depriving myself in other places. And even through, this is what I'm really ashamed to say, is through my years of kidney education, I thought that I was teaching the right things, but I was only teaching one thing. And so by me learning it, I was picking up those habits myself, and all of them were not healthy. You know, it's just like what you listen to, you are what you listen to, right? So I don't know. I think for me, if I had one tip on healthy yo-yo dieting, it would be before you do any diets, know what your labs are, because like if you have a high albumin and you do certain things, or if you have a really high sodium, or if you have a high potassium or a phosphorus, that's your direction. If you don't have those things, then I think you just need to find what works for your body and know that it can take not 5 months, but 5 years. You know, it really takes habits, years to iron out. Kind of like playing tennis, you know, some people can pick it up just like that, but most people, it takes a while. I just think for me, that's would have been the most beneficial to know, is it's just not a magic fix. You can't just go out and say, hey, I'm going to do keto, and because that could really harm you. Like you could be keto harmed. Paleo can really harm you if you don't eat it right. I did more damage than good.
Yeah. And that's a big thing of it too, is people tend to Google for the answers that they're looking for. They just want to be agreed with. So if somebody's going to do keto, or what used to be known as Atkins, they're going to look, can I eat all the bacon that I want? Can I have all the cheese that I want? Can I have all the pork rinds that I want? You know, so they're still looking for the snacks and the fried foods. They're just trying to figure out a way to make it work for keto. And that is not that you know, that's not what keto is about at all. And so the education is not something that people tend to look for. And I've been so guilty of that in my youth, you know, when I would do all of my crash diets or quick weight loss programs. I remember in my early 20s, I was going to go to Tampa and spend some time with my uncle who lived down there. And I wanted to lose some weight so I'd look good in a bathing suit. And so I decided to eat Fireballs and Yoo-Hoos. That was all I ate for 2 weeks. I look good in a bathing suit, but can you imagine what my insides were feeling? And so one of the things that I was thinking about, I love when you were talking about the more damage we do than good with whatever we choose to do a crash diet with, because adrenal fatigue, which is not diagnosed by medical doctors, but holistic doctors are diagnosing it multiple times a day, every day with clients, because we just destroy our thyroid and adrenals with these crash diets. They're so dangerous for our endocrine system. And so people walk around thinking they have chronic fatigue, and what's really happening is their adrenals are just shutting down. And it takes years, much like what you were just talking about. It can take 5 years to heal your adrenals. But if you're not willing to look at it, if you don't know your labs, you don't know where to start.
No. And I think that is the start, is getting your labs drawn. But you hit the nail on the head. That hit me. My adrenals, and you know what we thought it was? We thought it was just grief. We were like, oh, it's just anxiety. Everything I was feeling, we just pinned to, you're just stressed. It's depression. Nobody said, well, is it Graves? You know, so you're right. I mean, like how you eat and these yo-yo diets can lead, it can just be a stacking of mental health and just other issues combination, right?
Yeah. That's my health went in the toilet doing yo-yo dieting for so many years, and then giving up and not caring and eat whatever I wanted. And then, you know, my health went in the toilet, and it's taken not 3 days, not 3 months, but 3 years to undo the damage that I've done. And I'm still working on it, you know? So I think health is definitely a work in progress, and you can't expect overnight results. But if you do the research, you put in the work, and you are, you know, focused on bettering your health and, you know, your family's health and stuff like that, you can make huge strides, even with just small changes.
Absolutely.
And I think people have a misperception too of healthy food tastes terrible. It tastes like cardboard. It tastes, you know, and it doesn't have to. It can be extremely tasty depending upon how you make it. And you know, when I started, I didn't know how to cook. I had no idea how to cook. I did hamburger helper. I did, you know, these meals that were already pretty much made for me, you know, and I started from a very, not knowing how to prepare food to, when I was in college, my roommates, there were 3 other girls that lived with me, and they're like, let's all shop together and then we can make food together and it'll save us money. And I'm like, okay. And so we go to the grocery store and they're like, so Sheri, what kind of vegetables do you like? And I'm like, corn. And they're like, what other kind of vegetables do you like? And I'm like, corn. And they're like, anything else besides corn? And I'm like, well, salad's okay. So I came from not really eating very many vegetables or knowing how to cook to that's what I do now. And it doesn't have to take up a lot of time, and it can be very tasty because you have all of the spices and seasonings at your fingertips.
Yeah.
So why would it taste bad?
Yeah.
You can make it taste really good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That propelled me was so I'm still not the best cook. Like I have friends and they can gourmet, and when they cook things it looks delicious and it is just like shalalala, I'm working to get there. I'm not there. I'm just like,
That's not me.
Healthy gift for you, just flap it on the plate. But I think what happened for me is I would let it get so overwhelmed, like I don't know what to do, and then it would just be like a chore. And so it was my mindset and coming up with a way to say, okay, this is not a chore. This is something I have to eat. And there's an easy way to fix it. And I need to find out what I like and find like, how can I enjoy food? And so that's when it changed, and it turned it from, okay, I need a diet. Because I guess in my mind, I thought a diet wasn't necessarily like always a bad thing, but maybe that's what you were supposed to do. Like you have to be because mine was a paleo diet. I'm like, I'm on the paleo diet, but really I wasn't. But in my mind, I was really trying hard to be, so it was like a way of living. And then now I feel like, okay, that was a diet. This is a healthy lifestyle that's maneuvering. And every day I'm like, it's like a flat, like this beautiful plant or like this fancy project that like I want to perfect just for me. So it's kind of become a cool thing, right?
Yeah.
And when you think about the fact that when you change that thinking around to I have to I get to eat like this. I get to eat those vegetables. I get to have that really awesome grass-fed beef. I get to, have real fat in my diet because it's good for me actually. And when you turn it around to I get to, it makes it so much better.
Yeah, I get to feed my body with foods that are giving me real nutrition and nutrients that I need. So I'm fueling my body with what it wants and what it needs.
Yeah. My body needs healthy food. My cells need the food to build new red blood cells to help my brain grow. I think that was the other thing, talking about what I need, is I did not know that my stomach needed nutrients to feed my brain. Like I always grew up, your brain. Well, duh, if I had known that my gut fed my brain, I might have fed my gut a little differently.
That's a good point, actually. That's a really good point. They call the gut the second brain for a reason.
Yeah.
And that's the reason. Everything starts in the gut. If your gut can't feed the nutrients to your brain, then your brain will deteriorate. And that's what causes Alzheimer's. And so every time we put rancid seed oils or rancid vegetable oils into our body, we're releasing all these free radicals that are just destroying our mitochondria on our cells. And here we go on down the science world. But and the brain starts telling itself to shut down because these cells are becoming damaged and the brain's protecting it. And that's what causes that plaque to build up on our brains, is it's a protective measure. It's not actually the cause of Alzheimer's. It's trying to keep your brain from becoming Alzheimer's. But one of the things that Breanne said earlier that made me want to kind of piggyback off of last week's podcast was, the idea that we have to start, the younger that we can start understanding nutrition and not going through that yo-yo dieting, the less time or no time at all we have to worry about healing our gut, healing our bodies, healing our thyroid and our adrenals. And I remember my first fad diet. I was 12 years old in junior high school, and I wanted to look like the skinny girls because I was chunky, and I love the idea of body confidence. I posted on Instagram today, I think, or yesterday, I see all these body confidence things, but I see obesity really being celebrated right now. And it's so, so, so dangerous and so detrimental in so many ways. I want people to feel good in their skin. And that doesn't mean that they have to look like a swimsuit model from 1992, but it does mean that they need to have a healthy weight, and they need to have healthy foods going into their body, and they need to celebrate nutrition the way nutrition was meant to be. And I see what's happening in this world right now, where we're supposed to be okay with people killing themselves. And I think about some of the greats, John Candy and Chris Farley, and the people who were so morbidly obese that were so funny and entertaining, and they're dead because of their lack of care for themselves. And that's just the people who were famous. There's so many people dying from diabetes and obesity today. Diabetes is the number 2 killer of people, second to heart disease, which can also come from diabetic behavior,
which lead to kidney disease. Both of those are the leading causes of kidney disease.
There you go.
So 1 in 3 are at risk. Yeah. Which, I think one thing that I would be curious about for anybody that's listening is, so there's all these different backgrounds. And so far I would like to know, like, what are some things that have come to your mind? Is there something that has come to your mind that's triggered a question, or triggered a thought, or triggered a wonder, or I want to know, or how can I? Because those are the ways that we can learn from you, is by sharing those things. Because as I'm listening, my mind is going, so I want to know where your mind is going. I think there's a couple of things too, is like when we talk about, like Leigh Ann, you were talking, but I keep going back or thinking about the person that says, I really want to know more about what Sheri's talking about. I really want to know more about fasting and how to eat those lifestyles, but I just don't know how to do it. I'm so beat down. I don't have time. I've just had enough. I keep thinking that was me. I didn't know what to do. Heck, I didn't even know what the mitochondria was. I didn't know that what I ate would, those cells. And gosh, you've touched on so many different things, but yeah. So if there's somebody, I feel like there's somebody listening that says, I want that, and I don't know how to get it. I want to be there, and I don't know how to make that step. And I think that just makes me feel great, because that's why we're the collective, and why we're really what we formed this for, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that we stop here, because one of the things that Leigh Ann talked about was grief and the mitochondria, and how emotional eating can affect the cells in our body. So we've talked about childhood, how that kind of interacts. So how we eat, the things that we do, how it affects those around us. It affects our children. It affects the people. It affects our friends, really. And now we've talked about yo-yo dieting and how that can play a part in just how we live, how we shine. Because I don't know if you're like me, but if you're on a yo-yo diet and that thing goes bad, my whole day is bad. Like, I've messed up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Done. Let's just go for a free-for-all now. All the calories in.
Yeah, I suck. I
Already
messed
screwed
up.
Messed up. Yep. I want all the Oreos now. Double stuff. Come on.
No.
All right. Well, we are going to end this podcast then. We hope you are enjoying these podcasts. If you are, please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave your comments in the section below. And if you're listening to this on one of our podcasting platforms, check us out on YouTube or leave a comment here, and please review. All right. We will see you next week for the next podcast which if you were just listening to Julie, is going to be on emotional eating. See you then.
Bye.